baby.
We in here, yeah, we in here. 'Cause we been
Y'all better get comfortable with saying black.
We in here, yeah, we in here.
Black versus the Board of Education.
'Cause we came here, feel us now. We in here, yeah, we in here. 'Cause we came here, feel us now. And you know that we won't ever go with the flow.
That's why we are indeed a whole mood.
That's it.
I just love it when the ladies start the show off right. Come on with the air horn. She over here cutting up. Happy Monday. It is Black versus the Board of Education. My name happens to be Miss Laureen, and we welcome you into this space. We are so excited to have you today because we have a good one lined up for you. Now, just so the audience knows, GTA was supposed to be with us today, and they had some work obligations. So they're not able to be here, but we're still going to talk about BBSN Rebooted, why it's important. And we're going to talk to some of our mentors who are taking over and kind of providing the spaces for our boys. So before we get that started, Jalen, you know I'm coming to you because you closest to me. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us how you feeling. What is it?
Hello, my name is Jalen. I'm feeling okay. School is just getting the best of me right now. Trying to fight back.
Feeling okay?
Yeah.
You seem a little frazzled. Is that a good word?
Frazzled.
Like you just what's it, anxious or
yes
there's a lot of anxiety popping off.
Yeah.
Okay, numbers will do that to you.
Yeah. So we just pushing through.
Okay, I love to hear it. Hey, Miss Keela.
Hey, it's your girl Keela. I'm doing great. I'm going to Mexico this weekend, so
don't show off. Wait. So you gonna come back bilingual like this one did?
No, ma'am.
She don't
No?
know Spanish.
No, ma'am.
No.
I'll know it better than you.
Ooh.
Me no hablo inglés.
And we know.
Can y'all stop? That's Espanol, right? Then you need.
And that's my point. I'll be better than him.
I'm so
Me no
tired,
hablo
y'all.
inglés.
So you said you're feeling great.
I am. I'm feeling really good today. I got
Now,
a
what
good
part of
night's
Mexico
sleep.
are you going to?
Puerto La Verde.
Who? What now?
Puerto La Verde. I can't speak now.
Does
She don't
she
know.
mean
You sound
Puerto
confident.
Vallarta?
She don't know that. You don't know that.
No.
Whatever it is.
Yeah,
Oh.
she don't.
I'm trying to figure out
didn't-
what is
She
She didn't come back. She ain't been
Lavarte?
yet.
Huh?
What'd you say?
She don't know
Puerto
that Spanish like
Vallarta?
that.
Yeah, that. That's where I'm
Hey,
going.
To our
Okay.
Spanish viewers, we apologize.
We apologize in
She-
advance.
I'll be back and
She ain't
better.
been yet,
I'll
so-
be back and better.
Okay, come
Yeah,
on,
she don't know
Adrian.
that.
Hello, my name's Adrian. Feel good. We just got a dog this weekend. So
W dog.
Okay, what kind of dog did you get?
a multi poodle.
Multi-poo.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is it brown?
Yeah, it's kind of like grayish.
What's the
grayish
dog's name?
brown. Dallas.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay, Dallas. So my mom is actually looking for a puppy. So if y'all have any, not no dog that's gonna get really really big, but she's
Yeah.
looking for a
Uh.
puppy.
We got him. My mom's friend breeds dogs.
Oh.
So
Tell your mama's friend to holler at me because I think that we need to have some conversations because I actually did see the post. I think your mama put them up or somebody else put it up. I think it was Dallas Deontay.
yep.
Okay. Okay, Dallas Deontay. That's the name of the dog.
Dallas
Deontay.
Hard.
Okay.
Beyonce is crazy.
So we're gonna have to talk to your mama's friend.
That's a nice name, though.
Hey, Miss Anaya, how are you?
Hey, I'm okay. Pretty good.
Okay, pretty good. All right. What's going on out in DC? Give us the skinny.
Homecoming is in 2 weeks.
Okay. You looking forward to it?
Mhm.
I-
Yeah.
Did not sound like it.
okay. Why are you
No, I
looking?
very much am.
Oh,
But the thing that sucks is like I'm trying to have Drake come. I don't know.
Drake.
I don't know who's coming because like other HBCUs already announced their lineup, and they got pretty good people. So I'm just concerned about who's left for us.
Who's left?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would explain the eyes darting side to side. I feel it.
That makes sense.
Well, welcome back, you guys. We have a good show lined up for you. Like I said, I'm feeling a lot better than last week. Last week, I was ready to flip some tables, but I think I'm just ready to flip chairs this week. So I think, I know that Folsom Cordova is expecting me soon, as they should have been, because I'll get to that. I'll get to why we need to go visit Folsom this week. But there's a lot of things just happening continually around us in the education system. We know that where we are, it's number one in the state for disproportionate discipline of Black boys. Lisa and I had a chance to go over to the Elk Grove Unified School District Board meeting where they gave their little presentation on the state of the suspensions and expulsions. And what they like to do is say that their numbers have gotten better. However, we know that there are floods of students leaving the school district, right? Because they're not getting their needs met. We also know that Black families are some of the highest ones that are choosing homeschool to protect their children more often. But we know that there are still some students left over, and I'm going to segue into that because we are talking about our BBSN program. We're talking about Black boys specifically today. We do have a girls program, but we're talking about our boys today, and it's important that we acknowledge that there is something happening specifically to Black boys in our school system. And we're going to talk to you guys about that because you guys are two of the mentors, yes, for BBSN. And then we have joining us, Brandon is joining us with his arms folded. Go on and unfold those because you're looking real aggressive. And then Carlos is here, and he works for the Center on Juvenile Justice and the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice out in the Bay Area. So we welcome you, gentlemen. Go ahead and introduce yourselves. I know I said your names, but we just want to know a little bit more about you. Go ahead. We'll start with Carlos.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this space. My name is Carlos Simpson. I work as a sentencing planner for a nonprofit in the Bay Area, but I've been working with kids in Sacramento through the Bay Area for the last 10, 15 years now. Started off coaching. From coaching, I started dealing with kids that were dealing with a lot of inner city stuff, had my own issues and problems, and I've learned how to deal with them and redeem myself, and now I get a chance to go back into the institutions and talk to the young brothers and sisters about other opportunities and things that they didn't know that are available, as well as some of the things that they didn't know that are regular. So let's just kind of put it at that, and I'll go more in depth as we go along, but I appreciate you guys.
Fantastic. Brandon, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brandon. I've been working in business consulting for over a decade. I think that involvement with BBSN is important. As a young man, I had people pour into me. And so I think it's important to continue to carry that forward. We have a lot of collaborations that are planned for BBSN. So it's going to be exciting.
Awesome. So I just want to start here because I just heard, Carlos, you say something. You get to go back in and you get to talk to young brothers and sisters about things they didn't know. What I want to know from all of you, what are some things that you think young people assume they know, but they really have no idea as they're transitioning through life? And Jalen said, "Oh, so I'm gonna start with you. Give me something. Give me something."
One thing is that you're invincible. You feel like you're invincible. You feel like your actions that you do right now won't come back in the long run. I think that's the biggest one for me.
Invincible. Okay. Anaya, what's something that you think young people don't know or they assume they know, but they don't have any idea?
My answer isn't something that I feel like young people assume they know, but just something I feel like most of us are uneducated about, and it's like finances, like managing your money, maybe like investing, stocks and stuff like that. I feel like if you didn't have, your parent who was super involved with you, you really don't, or if you didn't learn in school, you really you kind of go into the world blind about that.
Adrian.
I was thinking they know just how life works, and
they assume they know.
Yeah, they assume they know how life works and what direction they need to go in to make certain things happen, until they find out that it doesn't work like that.
Oh, okay. Keela.
Kind of piggybacking on Anaya, almost like that adulting is very hard, and people want to grow up fast, but they don't know what really goes on after.
After what?
Like, say, for instance, whoever you're living with, what goes on after that, or the build up to that. Like, it's very hard.
Yeah, you want to grow up until you grow up.
Yeah. Literally, like adulting, like housing, like SMUD. I feel like everybody doesn't know like those things.
Oh, you talking about bills?
Exactly. Like I'm saying, like adulting. Like
now that's adulting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's cool and dandy. No.
It's just
No,
it
ma'am.
feels like it's romanticized.
For sure.
Like when you watch movies or sitcoms, or people portray the good parts of adulting, but they don't show what all of adulting is. They don't show the people that don't know where the next meal is going to come. They don't show the people that are sleeping in their car doing college. They don't show these people. So it's a lot of romanticization of adulting.
And I see Carlos is over there. I don't know what I mean. He's doing there's Arsenio Hall. He like, wind me up, coach. Like, so Carlos, when you're going into these institutions and you're encountering young people, what are you seeing that has given you a cause for concern?
A total misinterpretation of what's really going on inside of them. And what I mean by that is, before I even go into that, I want to add a tidbit too. I think a lot of people, when they misinterpret that what they're going through, they're not going through it alone. I think a lot of young people feel that nobody understands them, nobody understands his pain. And the more that they actually learn how to trust the process, they'll realize that a lot of people are going through the same stuff. But nevertheless, like inside the institutions, I think one basic thing that's always misinterpreted is that your anger is not anger. Your anger is hurt. And we don't like to talk about that in the neighborhood, right? Because explaining to somebody that you're confused is perceived as a weakness. Explaining to somebody that you don't know is perceived as a weakness. Explaining to somebody that you're actually hurt and confused is looked at as a weakness. So what's the most socially cliche thing to do when we want to disguise those things is become angry. And that deflects all of the vulnerability, and it actually gives us a preconceived reservation to be angry and shed that toward people, because hurt people hurt, right? But we always rationalize and justify it, and those are the things that we look at to justify it. But fundamentally, like once I end up building trust with certain young men and giving them the opportunity and a safe place to peel that onion, then they start realizing that, damn, this pain is something that, number one, was not normal. Number two, it wasn't my fault. And number three, if given the accurate information and a safe place to be able to trust and go through the process, I think that a lot of them realize that they have more to offer life than the average individual, because if they've been through what they've been through and they're still here and they're still sane, there's a higher power that has a purpose for them. And they normally fall into that seamlessly with the right love and the right attention and the right guidance on a consistent basis. Consistency is what they need.
Yeah. And so I'm going to turn it back to you two, because you just heard what Carlos said. He said that a lot of the anger is hurt or confusion. Would you say that if you had to say be on your own right now, would you be able to deal with those looking for meals or whatever you said? People don't realize what comes after they leave, right? Or they try to strike out on their own. Do you think you're in a position to be able to be okay if you were to make the decision that you were ready to do certain things in your life?
No, because I still lean on my mom and my grandma so much for a lot of different things, guidance, and just their wisdom of how they've navigated life. And then I just don't think I would be ready. And if I didn't have them, I don't think I would be sane. Because
you don't think you would be sane?
Just because of just the amount of times, like even when, for example, if I'm going through something in life, my grandma is the first person I'm talking to. And if I don't have my grandma to talk to, then I don't know who else I will have to talk to that I trust on that level to go as deep as I need to go.
So let me ask you something, because you brought up your grandma and you brought up your mom. Do you have any men in your life that you stop to talk to?
On the occasion, my uncle.
On occasion.
Yeah, and then my stepdad, and then those were the biggest two right there. Yeah.
Really? What about you, Adrian? Do you have, like, if you were to strike out on your own, right? Do you have men in your life that you would, run things by or talk to them about different things that you may be going through right now?
No. really the only man that's been in my life is my grandpa. But he lives all the way out in SoCal.
Okay.
So it was really just my mom.
Okay. Keela, do you have any men that you talk to that if you needed something or you had a concern or you were angry, confused, that you could rely on right now?
Yes, but like at the same time, no, just because my relationship with my dad is just weird as it is. So I feel like overall I could. It just kind of like what he was saying, I kind of have to put my own pride aside to even open up to talk to him about certain things, because I know that if I talk to him about certain things, it could go one way or the other.
Okay.
So I don't know if I want to deal with that with specifically him. So I kind of just avoid it overall, and I tell him like basics, but not stuff like that.
Same exact way.
Anaya,
Same exact way.
what are you thinking?
So I have my dad and 2 brothers. So like I know they drop everything for me, so I do feel comfortable going to them. But I'm just like I'm closer with my mom, like so that's my first instinct to go to her. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just asking you guys because I think there's this preconceived notion that people have about our community. And they believe that everybody has an absent father, right? And that we don't know how to process emotions. However, they don't teach you how to process emotions either. And I'm thinking, as I'm asking you all this, I'm thinking about who I had as I was growing up as a male in my family that I felt comfortable talking to, right? There are certain relationships I had, like my uncle, say Jonathan, for instance, right? What I can tell you about me and Jonathan was probably, I don't know how many years we were apart, but what I remember most is he would pick me up on weekends and we would listen to NWA. That is my cousin uncle, right? And if you go in my office now, you see a whole bunch of NWA little dolls that I have because that makes me think of him because he's no longer here, right? But I didn't have a dad to talk to. When I was coming up, there was that the Jets, the Pop Warner football team, right? And at that time, I met Big Dub, who is Winston Young, who is a coach in the areas, and he became kind of like my surrogate father. But besides him, I don't know if I had any other men. It was always my mom that I went to talk about whether I was, confused or angry, and I still do the same thing to this day because I still have problems processing. So when we're talking about you as young people, and things are crazier nowadays, right? Like when I was telling my husband when I was y'all's age, gas was 97 cents.
Yeah, now it's 5.
No, it's 6 something.
I go to Costco, so
must be nice.
Yeah, I go to Costco, he says. But you guys have a whole lot more things that you have to worry about. Like the inflation on the rent, right? Your car maintenance bills, right? And so I'm looking at all these things and I'm like, how are you all coping with the things that are happening around you? Because they used to say that dads or men provide a certain level of stability, right? So if you don't have that, what are y'all doing?
For me, I compartmentalize. Okay. I need to
talk to me. Come on, talk to me about this compartmentalization.
So for me, I've realized that when I have a lot of things on my mind, I need to focus on one thing at a time instead of thinking of everything at one time. Because when I think of everything at one time, I start to get overwhelmed and then I don't do anything at all. So I need to take it step by step. I need to figure out one thing and be like, okay, is this worth stressing about right now? If it is, let's fix it. If it's not, then we can move that to the back of the line. And then I'll go through every single one of those and then we'll come out and I'll feel better.
Okay.
But just for me and also finding somebody to talk to, because like with my dad, when I talk to my dad, it's business. But if I need to talk emotion, I'm not talking to my dad. I'm talking to somebody else who will give me the feedback that I need to hear in that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Carlos is nodding his head. He said, yeah. And so tell me about that you have going on, Carlos.
Well, first and foremost, young brother, I do the same thing every day, and I'm still working on it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
And I still have I still have my ways of dealing with certain things because I get overwhelmed quite often because sometimes you want to be everything to everybody, but at the same time, I feel for the process of you even having to compartmentalize that, because we don't like to, like, for instance, I'll try to show vulnerability at the right time to show it, because I try to make it acceptable to be vulnerable in front of somebody, right? And it still takes a minute for people to warm up and open up, but at the same time, like, that's the part that there's a disconnect, because I know there's my generation, there's a generation after me, and then there's your generation. And with that being said, the dialogue isn't always open. You know, I hear a lot from like our side of the fence of all these youngsters, they don't listen, they don't do this. I probably learn more from young people than they learn from me. And that wasn't supposed to be a secret. That's just the reality of it. But I actually listen. So it's kind of hard for me to listen if I'm thinking about how I'm gonna chastise them or what I'm gonna say because I want to be right. Just listen. And even if an individual is even hurting, he's going to tell you what's really going on if you're listening. And sometimes me included, don't always provide that safe place. You know, we grew up with Tonka trucks and all these different things. So we look at things and we talk about the skinny jeans and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, we don't talk about the fact that, hey, I might be a certain age and I may not know how to heal, but let me heal with these young brothers and we can learn together, because it's never too late to do that. I try to put as much information as I can out there, because if I'm not putting you in position to do way more than what I'm doing, I failed you. Because I'm going to give you something that I had to wait until my 30s to understand what manhood was about. My 40s to even understand how to put things in order and put my priorities in place. I'm still dealing with my own self-image and how that goes with self-esteem. We make it look good, but at the end of the day, it's a battle. And that's the beautiful part about life. It is a battle because every day it's something different. That's what we strive for, right? But if that open dialogue isn't there, there's always going to be assumptions. And a lot of the older brothers don't always tell the younger, hey, we don't always got it together, but we can give you time. And sometimes that's enough to be like, well, damn, just say that then, you know? But it's just unfortunate because I see so much wisdom and knowledge and understanding from everybody that's speaking. And it's like, golly, I admire that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to suck up all y'all energy for a little bit on the positive way, because, no, but I mean, being in direction and stuff like that, that's what I want to see, quite honestly, you know, because, you know, I got teenage boys, you know what I'm saying? And it's very, very difficult in today's society to raise a young person off of standards that may have been cool in the 80s and 90s that do not apply on no way, shape, form, or how. I raised my young men to be gentlemen. Now they're looked at as people that get taken advantage of because they have morals and respect.
Yeah.
While the person that's trying to do all these extravagant, wild, crazy things, some of them look at that like that's just so sexy. So it's very, very difficult these days. So it's a problem on both sides, but really, yeah, it's deep. I appreciate that.
So what you just said, though, it made me think of something else. So do you guys assume that just because your parents are older than you, that they have it all together? Do you?
No.
Is that an assumption you make? Do you hold them differently?
No. I feel like I know my parents as people, not parents. Now,
Explain that to me.
like, I feel like as I've gotten older, I see them not as my parents. Like, how do I explain it? It's like when you're younger, right? You look up to them and you're like, you know, because they're teaching me how to do these things. Now that I somewhat know how to do certain things, I'm like, okay, now I know these things. I took a step back and it's like, I see you as a person. I see how you're moving. I see how you're communicating. I see how you're talking to me. Like, it's overall, I see you as a person, not.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow you.
I got a question. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. Come on.
Do you ever see their pain?
Yes, I do.
How do you take that?
Hey, Carlos, before she answers, can I ask you something really quickly? Can you turn the TV down in the background?
Most definitely. My apologies.
No problem. I just want to make sure that we can all hear you.
All right, hold on.
So he said, how do I take that?
How do you?
Yeah, how do you
He
take their
asked, have you seen your parents' pain, and how do you take that? How do you? I'm assuming, how do you interpret it, or?
I mean, obviously it hurts me as well, but it's also like, this is getting deep. Oh Lord. Okay.
Look at him. Yep.
It's like I see their pain, but at the same time, they're not seeing my pain as a person.
And why do you think that they don't see your pain?
I don't know. I don't want to
Is
say
it
it's
an
'cause,
assumption, or are you just
I don't think it's an assumption. I know they
they don't see your pain?
like I don't know. I can't explain. There's so much thoughts going in my head. It's like I know they see it, but I don't know if they choose to ignore it because I'm not feeling they're giving that to me.
Okay. So you're not feeling that they're acknowledging your pain.
Yes.
But you can see theirs.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's almost like, how do we compromise, I guess? Because obviously if there's two people hurting, how do we fix that?
Yeah.
But it's just being chose to be ignored, and we're just gonna move forward every day.
Gotcha. You shaking your head. What you talking about?
I think the biggest thing that she's saying is she wants to feel like her pain is being validated.
Okay.
She
Is that what
wants-
you said?
Yes.
She wants to feel like her experience.
I want you to talk for her.
And the reason why I'm agreeing with her is because I feel like I'm going through kind of the same thing. I just want.
So you want your pain to be validated.
Yes, like there are certain.
And can I ask you a question before you answer?
Yes.
You want your pain to be validated. Can you voice what your pain is?
I feel like there are certain people in my family who do not show the emotions that I need. I have people in my family who have been raised to not show emotion. And then when they have their own kids, they are trying to instill that you're not supposed to have emotions, kind of like just like not opening up. But I'm a person who's very, very open about what I am going through. So we are polar opposites.
Okay.
And I just want the things that I'm going through to be acknowledged.
Okay. So is your pain the fact that you can't show emotion, or that you don't feel you're allowed to show emotion?
It feels like if I was to show emotion, it would be brushed off
or ignored.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Gentlemen, you guys are hearing this young man talk. He said that his pain is not being validated. And I see that both of y'all have come off mute. So Carlos, if I can let me start with Brandon. And Brandon, I always say Brandon is very analytical, right? So Brandon, hearing what Jalen is saying, how are you processing it?
I'm hearing what Jalen is saying.
Mm-hmm. But are you hearing it to listen, or are you hearing it to respond?
I'm hearing it to listen.
Okay.
From the standpoint of I'm wanting Jalen to elaborate in order to understand his thoughts further, to get additional clarity.
Okay. So Brandon would like more clarity.
Okay.
Carlos had his finger up. So while you're thinking of more clarity, Carlos, did you want to add something else in there?
No, I not only heard him, but it's got to get me emotional talking about it. I feel him. I felt that, because like I say, as parents, we don't know it all. And it's just so fortunate because we want to grow up and protect, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, we don't even know how to defend ourselves. So there's this false sense of so many things. And there's always this analogy that you want to look, no matter what you do, right or wrong, for a certain amount of time, you're always your kid's superhero, right? So, there's a poem by Tupac talking about when your hero is falling, right? And it talks about his mom, even though that meant everything to him. But to see that vulnerability actually open the floodgates toward healing, and we might not always understand the problem, but like being is more committed to the solution per se. Like it's nothing like family healing, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, just it's nothing like healing on any level, because we try as parents and we end up doing more harm than good. And I look at the systematic things that were just taboo and weren't taboo in African American families. If I'm only going off of what I was raised by my great grandma, so that's the lady was born in like 1919 or something like that, right? So she couldn't read or write, but she taught me dignity and respect, how to carry yourself, all these type of things, right? But some of the fundamental things just never got talked about. So feeling his pain and not being able to do what I want to do, which is hug him right now, it's emotional. Going through that pain and being able to relate, because I was one of those kids that would really just scream to get it out because nobody understood. And I was even made to seem like I was tripping, you know? And it's like, damn. Even back then, I knew it was a different type of plan for me, but it wasn't made for me to be comfortable about it, you know? So I feel him. I don't just hear him. And I'm an emotional dude, as you can see. But at the same time, like, I feel so hard and so much for these young people because I've been there. I've done that. And I want to give somebody the cheat code. Like, hey, this ain't what we do. Like, I've done enough time for all y'all and mine. So I feel that. I don't just hear it. I feel it, man. And it just makes me emotional because, I mean, I know we're a part of the process, but I just wish I can do more because I just wish it was more brothers that can actually show emotion and let it be known that it's okay. I was one of the dudes in the penitentiary that cried in movies and dared somebody to say something about it. Not because I thought I was a tough guy, but if you're telling me that you don't feel this situation, that means you have nobody you're missing. You know what I'm saying? And even when it comes down to like a lot of street back and forth stuff on some real volatile situations, when you relate to somebody as a father instead of somebody that you used to look at as an enemy, or if you relate to somebody as that's such and such as grandson and he grew up, all these things that we have in common are never talked about. It's the little one or two things that we don't have in common, which is only a figment of the imagination to begin with, that we're killing each other over. And that hurts because it's the littlest bit of information that can change the whole mindset. So it hurts. Yeah, it does. But I appreciate you for sharing that and being vulnerable.
Thank you.
And I feel you.
So he says that he doesn't only hear you, he feels you. When you hear someone validate your pain, what is going through your mind? Because I saw you smile.
Because it made me feel like, you know, like we talked about earlier, you're not alone in what you're feeling. And it just makes me feel like, you know, I'm not in the wrong for feeling how I feel.
You're not.
But there's certain people that you'll talk to and they'll be like, well, suck it up. Suck it up. You know, that's life.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody who says something like that, you're like, okay, well, you don't always have to suck it up.
I don't. The problem that the dynamics or the emotions that I'm feeling right now. So I don't think that people do a good job of making sure they stop in that moment and focus attention on people.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's something that I had to pick up along the way.
People gloss over things. Like you'll tell a story, but they'll be like, okay, but what did you do to do that? But I'm like, whoa, we're just not going to skip over what I just said. Like,
yeah,
we're getting to the solution, but we haven't even addressed the problem yet.
Right.
Like we just skip over all of the meat and potatoes and we're just going to be like, okay, well, you did this. So you knew what's going on.
But do you think it's because they don't have the skills to actually be able to process through that? You just said that whatever person, whoever you're talking about, was not raised to have emotion, right? So then now we're expecting this person to now have emotion. Where are they getting the emotion from if they weren't raised with it? Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how are you able to expect something from somebody that does not have it? Anybody can jump in. I'm just asking and I'm putting it out there because I'm just listening to you and I'm walking through this process with you, and what you're longing for, maybe that person doesn't have the skill set to give that to you.
What are you supposed to do after that though?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. How do you process through that if that one person is not able to give you what you really, really want? I'm about to make these kids cry in here or something. Like everybody's looking at me like, what?
I just think it's because, say for instance, like this is just generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
Say if that's a parent, right?
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? Drop the parent? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but you accept them for who they are.
Yeah.
But I think that's what it has to come to terms with, that you accept them for who they are, and that's just somebody you won't go to for certain situations, and you find that person to help you with that, and you just understand that person's role in your life.
And I saw Carlos had his finger up, so I think he wants to jump in here. What are you saying?
And I don't mean to just talk too much.
No,
But,
come on and talk. This is a podcast. We're supposed to talk.
So me and my mom were like that. I'm my only child, right? But at the same time, and I love you, Mom, but at many times, foreign substances were put in the forefront in front of your kid, and that killed me in regards to my self-worth all my life. Never talked about it, right? It was until she was on her deathbed that I had to realize that, damn, maybe she's not built to process these things like that. Maybe she's not. First of all, the disease of addiction is something we don't never really talk about. Yep. Because it's not even cool to be addicted, as if everybody has an affliction with something in one way or other that we use in excess. Period. It's the human condition until you learn how to govern it. With that being said, once I realized that, damn, this is really what she was working with, I could not take it personal anymore. I couldn't. I had to let it go because she did the best that she could, right? But how do you say that to somebody and say, okay, well, the one place you want it from, it may not be capable of doing it. Be okay with that. But trust another source, that's hard because I couldn't do it. And that's where sometimes, even as young people, it's okay to take the lead and say, hey, I know that this may be hard, but are you willing to do this with me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that may show, with all due respect to parents, sometimes the kid is a little bit more braver than the parents. Because sometimes the parents can go with the passive resistance because they don't want to show internal conflict or struggle in front of their kids. But what I learned is when I was released from the penitentiary 5 years ago, I was released to a shelter with nothing. And I took shelter passes and ran to the library with my son and showed him, hey, Daddy got to start over. As hard as that was to bear, because I'm used to doing all these different things, sometimes when you grow together, man, it's a beautiful thing, so it's not about being a better person. It's about being the more equipped person because you've already been exposed to somewhat of the truth, right? Yeah. So that's where, like you said, we're not going to glaze over the problem, but you may actually understand the problem more than they do. Mm. So as a young person, how do you take the lead respectfully and be a part of the healing process and almost make it to seem like it's mom's and dad's idea, but it really ain't, Mm-hmm. And that's the tough part about it, navigating, but man, you of all people can learn. I know you know how to navigate that, but at the end of the day, don't have expectations with it, but just at least be a part of the solution if you can.
Yeah. And what I heard two things. The first thing I heard is that you said that sometimes parents aren't authentic with their children to show them when they hit rock bottom, the process of building it back up. That's one thing you can do.
Worst thing you can do.
Okay. And then the second thing you said was maybe these young people know more than their parents and how they respond, but it has to be respectfully how they put that respect on it, because I think that's a lot of something that's missing in this generation that we're dealing with currently. Sometimes they do things and Lord, so when y'all hit 18, y'all know everything. Nobody can tell you anything. You got it all figured out. And you believe that because the government says you're ready to be on your own, that you are equipped to be on your own. And I remember we had a podcast about this a couple of weeks ago. And I was asking y'all, do y'all think you're ready to be on your own? And you two specifically said no. You were made to get on your own, right? Mm-hmm. You had no choice, right?
Yeah.
And so do you think that has built a certain type of skill set or skill level? And do you think that when you were made to get out, do you think that it was done respectfully? Or do you think that the disrespect in the whole situation was at an all-time high and you had to make a decision?
I think the disrespect was taken to an all-time high and I felt that I needed to. Mm-hmm. So then I gave myself the space. Obviously, I was fortunate enough to leave that situation. So I feel like me doing that, it's made it better in that situation because I physically removed myself. Mm-hmm. So it's better that way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if I wasn't able to leave, it would have been like crazy for mentally.
Mm-hmm. What about you? Do you believe that, I know you're over 18 now, mm-hmm. if you weren't respectful in the sense that, do you think that you would have the relationships that you have with your grandparents? You say your grandmother. Do you think that relationship would be intact if you moved disrespectfully?
Absolutely not, because that's the one thing that they always preached on was how to talk to the older generation. I would say that's the one thing they would not tolerate, was disrespecting anybody. So,
and we still don't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So just knowing that, and that being my upbringing, I always have to speak with respect no matter what. It gets hard in situations where you're very, very frustrated. That is the hardest thing, is to try to keep the respect when you do not feel respected.
Correct.
But that's the part that we're all still working on. I can speak for me for sure, because there's a lot of situations where I have to act very, very hard to hold my tongue, because there's a lot of things that I want to say, but I know that it will not be taken very, very kindly.
What about you, Adrian? You've been quiet. Anaya's been quiet. Brandon are you ready? You have an answer for us, Brandon? I'm gonna go to Adrian, and then I'm gonna come to Anaya. What are you thinking?
For me, I would say my mom has had a lot of patience with me, because growing up I wasn't the most respectful. As in, I like to talk back a lot.
But why? Why weren't you very respectful? Were you holding something?
It was more of, I think I was starting to look at her more as not as a parent, but as a friend, because we grew up together. So it was just, I'm an only child as well. So it was just me and her. So she would say something and I want to know why. I want to know just answers. And sometimes I feel like I was valid in asking questions.
You feel like it?
Okay. I feel like I was valid in asking questions. But other times it was my tone and the way I said it. And even if I don't mean it for it to come out that way, it came out that way. And then it started an argument. And then
Dog, I got what? I know. I'm saying I don't know how many times I've heard that exact same thing in my life.
Tone and delivery, T&D, T&D, will get you every time. Are you done? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Jalen interjected and he's distracting us. Go ahead.
I'll say I'm still learning now about the tone thing. But I would say me and my mom have the best relationship we've had now. I think now that I'm older, I'm learning how to talk to her and she's learning how to talk to me. And I know how to get her mad, so I know what not to do. And she knows how to get me in a situation to where I start to get kind of off with the mouth.
Yeah. And then before you move on, because I want to make sure I understand this. So are you saying that you've both had to put in some boundaries, some boundaries to know how to approach and how to talk to one another? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because she knows when she yells, I automatically disconnect.
Shut down.
Yeah, I stop listening.
Yep.
So please, really, since I got out of high school, she's noticed that and she stopped yelling. She starts talking in a calm, communicative way, and then it turns into a conversation rather than an argument.
Gotcha. Anaya,
what's the question?
Oh Lord,
I was listening so well that I just forgot.
I'm right there with you, Anaya.
Brandon's like, huh? I was just asking them about how they're responding to parents, grandparents, and that respect thing. And I'm hearing that Adrian's had to put in some boundaries. Keela had to remove herself in order to, I would say, stay respectful in the situation. The best thing sometimes you could do is get the hell away from people, right?
Sure.
Jalen, what did you say? You said that
I don't even remember.
He said that
Lord.
he said
Something
that he
about
stayed respectful
even though he felt disrespected.
Yeah.
And so now I'm turning to you. You're listening to what is being said here. What are you thinking in terms of whatever? And I promise we're gonna tie this back to BBSN. I really am. I promise you. There's a reason for my stuff. So what are you thinking?
Like my opinion? Like,
yeah, girl, your
name
is Anaya. What? Yeah,
your experience.
Your experience is.
Anaya's formulating.
Yeah, no, I thought you wanted me to respond to them. I'm like, oh.
No, you don't respond.
Anyways,
validating your feeling.
I would say growing up, I was very, I could say I was dramatic. I was sensitive. I was emotional. So my mom had to always check me, like, check how you talking to me. I'm not your friend.
Not one of your little
Now
friends.
now getting older, I definitely feel more comfortable sitting down with her and having a conversation saying like, hey, I don't like how this happened. Instead of when I was younger, it's just I'm gonna talk to her, tell her how I feel, and that's it. So yeah, but I think also I'm not a parent, obviously, but from my perspective, it's also oh my gosh, it's also on the parent to kind of set that foundation. And like my experience again, just my mom made it very easier as I got older to let me know like I'm here for you. We're not friends, but I'm here for you. Talk to me about anything. So yeah, I think it's also, you know, on the parent or the grandparent, whoever your trusted adult, to set the foundation so the child feels comfortable going to them, or they know how to show respect. Because I feel like if you've never seen someone respect someone else, you don't really know, or like everyone has a different definition of respect. So me respecting my mom is different than me respecting my grandma, you know? Yeah.
There's levels to this. I'll say that. There's levels to this. So, Brandon, you're an only child as well. How would you talk about your experience with your parents growing up? Was respect a thing?
Yeah, respect was definitely a thing. My father and mother, they pressed respect really, really hard. When I would go out into public and people would say, "Oh, Brandon's a nice, respectful young man, say all the good things," and sometimes they might act surprised because I'm sure I may have responded a different way at home than how they taught me to, as it relates to moving in the world regarding respect and otherwise. Um, and I wish he was as respectful to you as he is to us at home. Type of thing. Um, and I think that part of that uh, is connected to us wanting to do our own thing. Even um, I mean, even down to toddlers. I mean, it's like toddlers want to do their own thing, so it doesn't get better as we get older. We're just able to voice some of those things more, and we're able to manage the feelings of, oh, what I want to do, and various things of that nature. We manage it differently because we start to grow up and mature and realize that I can't always have what I want the way I want it when I want it. That I may have to wait, put in some work, and putting in some work may be observing so I can learn in order to manage life the way that I need to, in order to get where I need to be. This whole idea of adulting.
And you can't make a pause because you thinking and you pausing and it's a podcast and people are like, wait, did my sound go out? So I'm gonna just fill in the air. But go ahead, because every time you get quiet, I'm a pop in. Did you have something else? Did you want to wrap up that point really quickly?
Nope, that's all.
Okay, Carlos has his finger up.
No, I was thinking about an analogy when Brandon was talking. It's like, here I go sounding like some old dude that I used to talk about back in the day, right? But I mean, everybody here know how to use a microwave, right?
Yeah.
Any of the youngsters know how to saute food?
Yes, sir.
What about marinated for a day or two and put it in the oven?
Uh-oh. Yo, wait, dude. I hear
said yeah.
That's kind of how life is.
Yes. Yes.
The lady said yes.
Okay,
The gentlemen are looking like
I grew up watching my father cook and my mother
okay, I respect it. So you are one and far few in between, right? But a lot of the teen, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm here to be open toward, they think life is like put some stuff in the microwave and they come back in 5 minutes. Because they want it now. Everybody wants it now. It's like, no, forget that. I'm not popping no popcorn with no butter and no salt. Put that put that in the microwave. And that's what I face when I'm kind of trying to like tell some of the teenage boys in my house, let alone everywhere else, that bro, you got to kind of like put that in. It don't just pop up like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's a give and take, but that microwave, I want it now, don't always work out, because yeah.
Well, and that's not real life, right? Having things instantaneously is not real life. People look now, like now BYLP looks like it's really popping, right? But this is like since 2010, putting in work behind the scenes and developing relationships and trying to cultivate a message. Nothing happens overnight, right? And I've never been the type of person to just expect you to know everything that I know, right? Because I'm a lot older than y'all. I got at least 20 years on everybody, right? And so there are some experiences that I've had to go through to now put myself in a position to be able to pour into young people now, right? And I know I've told y'all many a times my one of the best experiences I had was going into San Quentin. That absolutely changed my life. Sitting with juvenile lifers, right? Nobody told us what we was doing. They told us, they made us sign a waiver. It says, we do not negotiate with terrorists. So if they take you into their cell, you on your own. Do not call us. We not come in that type of situation, and they make you sign a waiver before you go in there. Now I'm thinking, because I only know TV, right? I only know what happens on TV. I'm thinking that, they're going to come in and it's going to be like a chain gang and they're going to be walking, with their arms and everything. Carlos is laughing, but that was my assumption, right? That I was going to go in here and I was going to see people and they were going to be shackled or whatever it was. And I ended up going into a Protestant church and people was moving around freely. And I'm trying to figure out what we there for. And then there's like, yes, we're going to have a conversation with juvenile lifers. And I'm like, oh, snap. Okay. But you just told me you don't negotiate with terrorists and they're walking around freely, so anybody could do anything at any time. Okay, cool. But what I learned in those interactions is you have a whole bunch of hurt people. You have a whole bunch of young people, young men, that were ostracized. They were kicked out of school. They were marginalized. They were ignored unless it was punishing them. And I watched this young man as he told me he was sentenced, I want to say, to something like 286 years behind bars. And I immediately started crying. And I felt bad for crying because I'm thinking, how do we just throw people away and forget about the key? Right. And so as I'm listening to him talk, and I'm just like trying to compose myself because I didn't know I would have such a reaction like that. And it went to the next person. And I was 15 years old and I was with this person. I didn't pull the trigger. I was in the car and I got sentenced to 43 years to life. And next person. And you're hearing all these stories and y'all talk about how you're overwhelmed, when we go to Job Corps. Like, I promise you, it was like 5 or 6 rotations with 3 or 4 people in a group. And my heart broke more and more and more. And that's why I move with the compassion that I move with, right? And with BBSN, we have an opportunity to rely on men with lived experiences to come in and walk alongside our boys. Not just men with experience. We're talking about men from different fields. We have people who are in the insurance industry, people who are in service organizations, people that are in medical organizations, people who are just starting off and they're getting their feet wet in mentorship. That's why we're doing something important with BBSN, because a lot of times they're not going to listen to Brandon, but they may listen to Jalen. Sometimes they're not going to listen to Adrian, but they may listen to Carlos or whoever else is mentoring in that space. And it's so critical. And why I wanted us to get into a conversation with these men here, the tone is always different when a man is in the room. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to keep it a buck. As a young lady who always wanted to be daddy's little girl, who never had that opportunity because my dad was about self, right? To be able to be in rooms with men and talk about the different emotions and the different things that you're going through. Men have this way to stabilize an environment. Y'all do. Y'all don't realize the power you walk around with as Black men in this world. You have the power to stabilize environments if you took it. And so I'm just elated that we have the opportunity to do something in specific with our boys, because as I go school to school and I see them lined up on the wall on the campuses, or I see them being escorted out in handcuffs, I'm like, who are they going to talk to when they get out, or while they're in? Because there are a lot of people, a lot of adults, because y'all be tripping out there. There are a lot of adults who go behind these bars and want to just chastise people. Don't nobody want to hear all that.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear all that. What they want to know is that you love them, that you're concerned about them.
Right.
Come on, Carlo.
I got a question. When you went into the institution in San Quentin, right?
Mhm.
As you were walking in, I know your mind was like all over the place, but at any point in time, did you look at that, however the yard might have been structured, the buildings, the lining up, this and that? Did any of that remind you of the school system in any way?
I already told Elk Grove Day schools look like little prisons.
Imagine
Yeah,
that.
so we went from the Protestant church down to the yard. It looks just like a school campus because you got the little handlebars or whatever it is that they flip on. You got some, weightlifting equipment. I know they don't have that outside anymore. They had a place where I want to say people were playing basketball, but what I noticed was everything was segregated. So you had the Black folks over here, the Latino folks over here, the Asian folks over here. And then, again, in the back of my mind is playing, they don't negotiate with terrorists, right? So as I'm walking, I hear people say, the one over there, that one's mine. And I'm like, oh my God, they about to get me, right? But he was like, no, we got you. It's all good. But in my mind, because I had seen so many things on TV, I wasn't looking at these people like human beings.
Yep.
I wasn't thinking of them as human beings.
And that's why the laws are what they are.
Facts. That's how we throw away people, because we don't see them as worthy of our time, attention, compassion, or concern. And that's something that I saw. And I keep telling y'all, we gonna go. I'm gonna take y'all to one of these prisons, because after that, I went to Lancaster State Prison. There was a young man in there. He told me that this was his second time behind bars, and I popped him. I said, that's for your mother. I'm like, you know better. And he's like, I know. But his mom was holding out hope, hoping that she would be able to see her baby again. And then the other thing that they told me was that if they call y'all pick up the phone. They are so desperate for interaction with somebody. And I'm like, wow. I just, you just never think of it, because all my frame of reference was television or movies. And I did not see them. And I was ashamed of myself to admit that. But I did not see incarcerated individuals as human beings. I saw them as people who did something bad and they deserve to pay the consequence. And that's it. And going in there totally transformed my mind about them, transformed the way I felt for them. And that's why now in the work that we do here at BYOP, you will see me always have some people who have around me who have lived experience, who have been in prison before. Because if ain't nobody else gonna give them love and attention or an opportunity, BYOP is going to. And so I just, man, it's I just don't know. Come on, Carlos. Uh-oh, you on mute, sir.
Rookie mistake. My bad. Rookie mistake. And I don't mean to go into the whole fantasizing about it or whatever, because it's not nothing to brag about. But I know what kind of really woke me up one time is that, and I'm not sure, I know you guys don't know what this is, but there's a place called West Block, which is a reception in San Quentin. There's a grandfather on the 5th tier, his son on the 4th tier, and the grandson was on the 1st tier. So if the grandfather don't know no different, you already know what the father and the grandson, right?
Yeah.
So these are men that are actually being put in this grinder without even getting a chance to do anything in life and understand what life is about to begin with. And that's kind of how it goes, you know what I'm saying, on a generational level. And that's why it's so important for these connections to be made and the real understanding truth get out there. Because some of the brightest people I've ever met was not at any of the colleges that I attended. It's right there in that place right there. You know, but you'll never know about it. So yeah, definitely.
So we gonna see how this turns out. We're gonna continue to put things in place. I know that Brandon, you were talking about there are going to be some kickoff events for BBSN. Are you guys aware? Yeah. Do you guys want to talk about the kickoff events that you're going to be hosting in the next month or so?
Yep, October 28th. There's going to be a game watch here at BYLP headquarters. The University of Colorado will be playing UCLA. We follow Coach Prime, support what Coach Prime is doing there at University of Colorado.
Okay, so we're gonna have a game watch. Y'all going?
I should be there. Go Buffs.
Go Buffs. Okay, so maybe
we would have one October 7th, but the natural hybrid retreat will be going on during that time.
Is that the Stanford game?
That's going. No, yeah. There's only Stanford.
But the UCLA, boo.
You said what?
He said go Stanford. I said boo. But the UCLA game should be better.
The UCLA game should be better.
Yeah, Stanford's okay, but UCLA is good.
Okay. All right. Well,
Stanford lost to Sac State.
I'm about to say Stanford lost to Sac State.
Yeah, you can keep it real. You can you hit hard while you can, so it's all good.
Hey, no, I just said that because my cousin the QB. Come on.
Hey, let's go. All right. Well, look, we done ran out of time for today. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Carlos, for hopping on. Brandon for joining the conversation. We are Black versus the Board of Education. We would hit you with the wave, but we almost 3 minutes over, 2 minutes over, 1 minute. Yeah. So we just gonna tell y'all bye, and we'll see you next week right here on Facebook and YouTube, 4:30 PST. Y'all take care.